check out our streaming schedule for this week. We've got tons of content in terms of the NFL and college football, as we're going live just about every single day this week. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single moment where we go live. And now, on with our feature presentation. January 18th, 2025. It's the divisional round of the playoffs, and we head up to Arrowhead Stadium on a chilly day in Kansas City for this AFC battle between the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. For the Texans, this is the biggest game in franchise history up until this point. This is a David against Goliath moment. You've got the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that has made it to the AFC Championship 6 straight seasons and boasted a 15-2 record in the regular season, only losing 1 game with the starters in there. And you, as the Houston Texans, despite losing to them a month before, have to defeat them despite being 0-5 lifetime in the divisional round and never making it to the conference championship before. If you're going to do this and unseat Goliath, you've got to play a near-perfect game, and you cannot afford to make any mistakes. And judging by this video title, I'm going to say that it's safe to assume that the Texans did not do that whatsoever. But before I talk more about how they didn't do that, if you want to learn more about the history of the NFL and some other dumb things that coaches have done during the playoffs, then this is the place for you. Because we talk about all things NFL history all the time with a new video and a new live stream every single day. So if you like that sort of stuff, then be sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel. Thanks in advance for your support as we try and hit 70,000 subscribers. And at this stage in the game, while the Texans are trailing and have not led for a second throughout the entire contest, they are right in it. Down by 8 points in the fourth quarter, they've got the ball at the 40-yard line in opposing territory, right on the brink of field goal range, and 40 yards and a conversion away from potentially even tying this game. However, after 3 straight incompletions, thanks in part to an offensive line that was about as effective at stopping the Chiefs as sticking your fingers in your ears is at stopping the sound of 10 crying babies on a plane, the Texans are faced with 4th down, lining up to go for it. You could go either way on this, but personally, I would go for it here, so no issue whatsoever there. Just gotta make sure you're on the same page here and that you draw up something good. So the Texans huddle up and continue to huddle up, I guess. Guys? You got a fez for huddling or something? There's 6 seconds on the play clock and you're still in the huddle. By the time you break it, with 4 seconds on the play clock, no one's in position. You're all out of sync. Fortunately, you can call a timeout and right this wrong and actually get set and put yourself in a position to make this work, which is what DeMeco Ryans does here, realizing that his team won't get the playoff in time and...
But they snap it.
Oh crap, they snapped the ball. They actually snapped the ball. I'm not sure anyone knows what the play is. I really don't think anyone knows what the play is, but they snapped the ball. There's no way this is going to work out, is it?
Blitz again. Stroud in trouble. Karlaftis is there. Kansas City ball.
Yep, thought so. Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before we break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this could possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Houston Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans. I wish I could say that this was the dumbest thing that the Texans ever did on 4th down in a divisional round game on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs. But Bill O'Brien permanently holds that title. Alas, this will do for number 2. On one hand, you can't deny the job that DeMeco Ryans has done in Houston thus far, making the playoffs twice in 2 seasons, winning the division twice in 2 seasons, and guiding the Texans to the divisional round twice in 2 seasons. On the other hand, this has definitely been a worse season from a coaching standpoint for him. He's made a ton of gaffes this year that he would have never made last year, where he just seemed to lack all awareness of the situation around him. You saw what happened in Week 12 during that loss to the Tennessee Titans, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. You saw the atrocious clock management and the decision to kick the field goal on Halloween against the New York Jets. which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. Heck, even in the Week 2 game against the Chicago Bears, he got bailed out of a dumb decision by Matt Eberflus being Matt Eberflus. But it doesn't change the fact that toward the end of the first half, he committed a massive mistake, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. But of all the dumb decisions he's made this season, this one might be the worst of the bunch, considering how important it was, and considering how glaringly obvious it was to do the exact opposite of what Ryans ended up doing. So with that being said, let's take a look at why not calling a timeout on 4th and 10 with the play clock winding down is a really bad idea. And I want to make it very clear. This episode of Dumb Decisions has nothing to do with going for it on 4th and 10. Nothing at all. You're in no man's land at Kansas City's 40. A punt, with how strong the winds are, could wind up going anywhere. You're not making a field goal from that far out, seeing as Kaimi Fairbairn had the accuracy on this day as a stormtrooper after 7 shots of whiskey. Going for it was 100% the right move, even if it didn't work out. But I think we can all agree that this play is massively important. Dare I say it? This might be the most important play in the history of the franchise right now. You get the first down, and you're in field goal range at the bare minimum. Get 10 yards, and you've got a good chance to, at the very least, walk away with 3 points and cut it to a touchdown game without the 2-point conversion. Get 10 yards, and you can even gas the Chiefs' defense even more after that masterful drive of 10.5 minutes, your last time out. Get 10 yards, and you even have a chance to tie the game with a few more nice plays. Now, it's always tough with the play clock winding down, because you have to juggle calling a timeout with taking the delay of game penalty. There are times where the 5-yard difference is better than taking the timeout. If it's 3rd and 33 and the play clock is winding down, don't call a timeout. Take the 5-yard delay of game penalty and just bring up 3rd and 38. The timeout is not worth it. Conversely, if it's 4th and inches and the play clock is winding down and you're lining up to go for it, but the play clock is at 0, it's better to call a timeout, because even though it stings to lose that timeout, it's even worse to be faced with 4th and 5 or 4th and 6 and risk putting yourself behind the 8 ball. And I think it's safe to say that when you've got all your timeouts, plus the 2-minute warning, so in actuality, 4 timeouts, and when you're lining up to go for it while trailing in the 4th quarter, that if it comes down to taking the timeout versus letting the play clock wind down and rushing the play, you absolutely, without any shadow of a doubt, take the timeout. If you take the timeout, you're still okay. You still have 2 plus the 2-minute warning, and you can get your offense set and make sure that everyone's on the same page, especially on a day when they have not been and when CJ Stroud had less than a second to throw in each of the last 2 plays. If you don't take a timeout, a bunch of things can happen. You can have an offense that's entirely out of sorts, leading to a 4th down play that has no chance at working because no one knows the play and no one knows the snap count. You have a delay of game penalty that pushes it back 5 yards to make it 4th and 15, at which point you're going to punt it away and you won't walk away with any points on the drive despite being in plus territory. You could get another pre-snap penalty. Maybe you won't get set in time. And if you're a head coach and you see that with 6 seconds left on the play clock, the team is still in the huddle, and with 4 seconds left, no one on the team is even set yet, and you're planning on going for it, it's not even a debate. You have to call the timeout. This isn't a case of a quarterback trying to wait until the last second to read the defense or trying to figure stuff out, or a situation where you have no idea whether or not the quarterback is going to get this off in time. There is no universe, none whatsoever, where you can go in a span of 6 seconds from the huddle to having everyone on the same page and properly lined up and set and executing a play from a spread out formation. It just isn't possible. It's like asking someone to sing Living on a Prayer, and there's 1 minute before he has to sing, and he's a quarter mile away on foot from the venue. Either he's not going to make it on time, or he will make it on time, and he's going to be insanely out of breath from sprinting, and he's not going to hit a single note, and is going to sound like crap. There is no scenario where this sounds good. You had to take the time out there. Plain and simple, you just had to. And if you can't see that your team is still huddling with 6 seconds left, then you need to either get a set of glasses or get your eyes checked, or you need to actually pay attention to the game and focus. With a play that big, against a team that good, you cannot afford to screw up and put yourself behind the 8 ball before you even snap it. And you found a way to do just that with your incompetence by leaving the timeout in your back pocket. Which raises the ultimate question. Will DeMeco Ryans learn from this mistake? I'm going to take a wild guess and say that no, he will not. Because after the game, I wish I could tell you what DeMeco Ryans said about the decision to not take a timeout on the biggest play of the game, despite the fact that there were 6 seconds left on the clock when the team broke the huddle and no one was set with 4 seconds left. However, he didn't comment on that one bit. Nothing on the biggest play of the game. While he refused to look in the mirror on that one, he did have plenty of time to bash the officiating, saying that this game was us against everybody. And I feel like DeMeco Ryans is the absolute best coach in the NFL when it comes to making excuses. Instead of actually, taking accountability, he has fostered a culture where it is natural to point the finger at someone else. Lose a game by 2 scores because your special teams unit stinks, your offense can't score in the 4th quarter, your offensive line allows 8 sacks, you coach a crap game, and you can't get off the field? It's the fault of the referees. Have a player get ejected for a late hit? It's not his fault. It's the fault of the other team. Have a player get suspended for said hit? It's not his fault. It's the fault of the NFL and its asinine policies. Lose a game to a divisional rival? It's not our fault. It's the fault of the officials because of how bad they were. There is no accountability with DeMeco Ryans, and there's no accountability with this organization. What this dumb decision and what this game showed is that this is an organization of losers. It's a loser organization with a loser mentality where they're not looking to improve and reflect on what they did wrong. Instead, they're just looking for the next way to make themselves the victim and looking for the next thing to whine about. Which, if you want to do that, DeMeco, go ahead. Be my guest. But there's a correlation between that and being the only team in the NFL to never make it past the divisional round. But if that's the culture you want to give to your team, as embarrassing it makes you look, go right ahead. Just don't be surprised when you keep getting worse as a coach and when you don't get the results that you desire. And just to give you an idea about DeMeco Ryans when it came to that awful dumb decision of the game between these two teams behind me right here, I watched his entire press conference. The phrase good job, as in he thought his team did a good job at doing something, came up more times by him than the phrase better job, bad job, or anything along those lines. In other words, he never said, we needed to do a better job at this, or I need to do a better job at this, or we didn't do a good enough job at this. He bashed the officiating a ton, and he said that he thought his team did a good job at certain things, but he never once said we need to do a better job at this, or I need to do a good job at this. Again, it comes back to accountability and the culture that Ryans is fostering down in Houston. Keep fostering that culture where you never take a moment to reflect, and where you have captains on your team who reflect that culture and openly talk about it in the press in a negative light. And don't be surprised if you keep ending up making really dumb decisions, not learning anything, and not advancing further than the divisional round of the playoffs. So what did we learn from all of this? If you've got a big 4th down play and the play clock is winding down and you're not going to be able to get the snap off without calling timeout, then call a timeout. You've got it there for a reason. I know you want to save your timeouts for later in the game to possibly stop the clock then, but there are common sense exceptions to this rule, and this was one of them. If you have 2 options when you go for it, and one option gives you a realistic chance at converting and keeping the drive alive, and the other option gives you no chance at converting and keeping the drive alive because no one is on the same page and everyone's out of sorts and everyone's rushing, then take the first option. If there's ever a time to take a timeout on offense with a stop clock, this was that time. And if you're not going to look in the mirror and take accountability for that while continuing to point the finger at everyone else, then you're not going to be learning the lessons you should be learning from this dumb decision. You'll learn the wrong lessons, continue to make the same mistakes just as you've done all season, and you'll find yourself right back in this boat in 12 months' time. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision.
Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live, as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.